Do you intend to live at least 10 more years? Well, you are about to witness and experience firsthand an era that will be seen as a turning point by future generations. The 2020s will see a different world as it exits to the one that arrived, and by a margin that has and will never be seen again. From energy and transportation to food and agriculture to information and the very materials that we use day to day. And this is going to affect society and geopolitics through to finance and infrastructure in our cities and environments, changing the way we learn, work and play, improving and extending our health span into a long and fulfilled future. If you are the sort of person who sees the next decade like the average person sees the next month, then I am sure you will want to watch this and add your thoughts in the comment section below. And make sure to subscribe, because my next few videos will be looking at the amazing possibilities that lie right before us now, and the amazing ways that we hope to be living our lives very soon. We can live longer and cleaner than we have ever done in history. We can reduce our footprint on the world and bring back nature to the areas we have decimated, all while still having a life full of the technological pleasures that make the future fun. We can create the symbiosis of us with the natural world that benefits every life form and creates rather than destroys. And I want to show you just how we can do such things and the ways that it can benefit all of us, everywhere. For most of the time, we have a steady equilibrium, with slow change over vast timescales as genes change and the mountains rise and fall. Then with the evolution of our modern brain, maybe 100 or 300,000 years ago, we decided to speed things up a bit. Since then, through the mastery of fire to the domestication of plants and animals, through to the harnessing of steam and the generation of power, and the age of computers, we have sought to gain more and more power by subjugating and breaking apart. From the enslavement of animals and other humans, to breaking apart the rocks to get metals and minerals, to breaking apart animals and plants to get the bits we want for nutrition and industry, to breaking apart the very atom itself for power and war. But they mostly come one at a time, and with great breaks in between. However, now we are seeing a convergence of multiple areas, all with feedback loops, fueling each other further and hastening the changes. With energy, we are moving from large centralized power generation based on huge projects and a global import and export market of unimaginable scale to localized efficient generation vastly cheaper per unit than it has ever been before. As for cars and vehicles, the dirty combustion of fossil fuels has powered a growth of incredible scale, but they have reached their peak. They are as good as they can get, and any improvements now will only ever be very small. Electric motors and batteries, however, are already better and still very much in their infancy, growing and improving fast. There is no future where internal combustion engines win. It is just how long they take to die. With agriculture and food, we are on the cusp of a mix of precision fermentation and stem cell manipulation, along with techniques like 3D printing that will mean another animal need never be bred for slaughter. Along with using a tiny amount of land, far less energy and hardly any water in comparison, we will be producing food with far less agrochemicals and much cheaper, with no antibiotics needed, and produced right next door to the places that consume it. Far more efficient. Then by harnessing the information around us, we will be able to catch illness and disease long before it shows any symptoms, and with a far less invasive treatment at a much reduced cost required. We will cure the illnesses that beset our longer lifespans to give us back a youthful vigour with which to enjoy our extended years. Even transport itself is set to change. Once you remove the driver of a vehicle and you power it with cheap, clean energy, and you have a vehicle that will last 10 times as long, the cost per kilometre to drive it plummets massively to maybe 10% or less of the cost now. By that point, even the basic running costs to any vehicle are vastly more expensive, even if you do not factor in the cost to buy it in the first place. When this occurs, we will only need 10 to 15% of the number of vehicles that we currently have, and virtually none of them will need car parking spaces. Have you ever considered that up to a third and even a half in some American cities of space is car parking, and most of it is only used for a very short amount of time? Think of the land we could get back. And just under half of the land we currently use is for livestock. Imagine if we didn't need that anymore, or the fields of crops grown to feed the livestock. Imagine if we did not have to overfish the oceans and rivers. All that could be reverted to a much more balanced natural environment. And we are not doing this at some huge cost to ourselves. We get this whilst our food is better and cheaper, our transport is quicker and cheaper, and our energy is more abundant and cheaper than ever before. This is a win-win-win. You see, this is the incumbents who stand to lose their investments and whoever they can buy in government to manipulate the system for them, versus the innovators who want to provide a better product or service at a vastly lower cost. And it is not played out on linear graphs. This happens on exponential time frames. Now, I know someone out there is probably shouting about Moore's law of 41% growth per year coming to an end. Well, it is true that transistor density is getting to fundamental limits, but this only applies to the number of transistors. Data storage, or Kreider's law, is seeing 50% growth every 18 months, with digital imaging known as Hendy's law showing 59% growth each year. Network capacity, or Butt's law, is growing at 50% every 9 months, and lithium-ion batteries are growing at 20% per year, and other newer battery architectures are growing even faster. Everything is growing exponentially. You need to realise the market is already ruptured. Information and energy are already well into their takeover, and the rest are on the very verge of breaking their systems apart within just the next few years. And the changes and uptakes are only getting faster. This will all lead to a higher standard of living for a lower cost. The 2020s will see more instability, but by the 2030s there could be new systems in place, and they will be 2 to 10 times cheaper than the old ones. Millions of acres of land will be freed up from agriculture and car parking. Land prices will drop, there will be less importing and exporting and more local production, and with more distributed and resilient systems creating much less waste, such as with energy. This can get us a 90% reduction in emissions by 2035 and to net zero by 2040. Alongside this, telemedicine, genomics and AI and robotics will revolutionise healthcare. Online education will usurp physical colleges, and clean, abundant energy to sequester carbon from the air and to desalinate all the water we need. What are you looking forward to? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to click like and subscribe, and thank you for dropping by.